Chapter 20. Mrs. Friedman looks so shocked to see Justice standing on her doorstep. He peeks over his shoulder to make sure there's not a ghost or something behind him. Justice? Hey, Mrs. F. Is Sarah Jane home? Sure. Come in, come in. As Mrs. F stands there with her eyes popping out of her head, Jess thinks maybe he shouldn't have just shown up with no notice. Not that he made a conscious decision to do that. He got back to school from Martell's, hopped in his car, and let his instincts lead. This is where he ended up. I should have called, he said. I'm sorry. No, that's not it at all. Well, we've really missed you around here. They missed him? SJ's up in her room, but do you mind saying hello to Neil? He'll be thrilled to see you. Sure. Mrs. F leads him around to the living room where Mr. Friedman is kicked back in his recliner watching reruns of the Final Four. Neil, look who's here, she says. When Mr. Friedman sees Jess, he sits bolt upright. Justmeister! Hey, Mr. F. It's really you! Mr. Friedman jumps up to hug Jess, who winces a little from the pressure on his shoulder. How are you? We're so glad to see you, son. I can see that. The Friedmans laugh. Jess swallows. It's a little overwhelming, all this love. Sarah's in her room if you want to head up, Justice, Mrs. F says. Thank you, and thanks for the warm welcome. Promise I'll call first next time. Oh, don't be silly. Jess smiles and turns to head upstairs. Hey, Justmeister, if you need anything at all, I mean it. Don't hesitate to call us, all right? Mr. F says from behind him. At first, Jess recoils. If there's one thing he can't handle right now, it's pity. But as he looks over his shoulder into the faces of SJ's parents, he knows this is different. He clears his throat. Thanks so much, sir. That really means a lot to me. You betcha, kiddo. Okay, we've embarrassed ourselves enough, Mrs. F says. Go on up. As Jess climbs, he gets nervous. What if SJ isn't as cool with him dropping in as her parents were? What if she's busy? What if she's asleep? What is he even going to say to her? The door is cracked, and he can hear what sounds like NPR and Carrie Underwood playing simultaneously inside SJ's room. Typical. He knocks. Come in. She's stretched out on the bed in her brass prep lacrosse shorts and a t-shirt with an open calculus book in her lap. When she sees him, she sits up just like her dad did, wearing the same expression her mom had. It makes him smile. Hey, he says. Hey! She scrambles around for a second like she can't figure out what to do, shuts the calc book, sets it aside, and swings her legs around so she's sitting on the edge of the bed. Oh! She grabs a remote from the nightstand and points it at the speakers attached to her computer on the desk. NPR and Carrie go quiet. So, you're here? Jess laughs. That's what your parents said. Oh God, did they totally attack you? I'm so sorry. She shakes her head. You're literally all they talk about these days. I would have warned you if I'd known you were coming. Jess laughs again. It's all good. Actually felt pretty nice. She smiles. Want to sit? Points to the empty space beside her. He sits so close that their shoulders and legs are touching. She's warm. So, what brings you to La Casa de Friedman, Mr. McAllister? She nudges his knee with her own. He turns to look at her. You? Me? Yeah, He looks away. Well, everything okay, Jess? She touches his forearm just past his wrist, and the memory of handcuffs overwhelms him even all these months later. His eyes drop to her hands, and he feels a weight slip off his shoulders. They're chipped now, but her nails are still painted his favorite color. Jess stands, pulls SJ up, and wraps her in a hug that lifts her off her feet. Okay, she says. He inhales a whiff of her fruity shampoo. I almost joined a gang today, he says. Huh? I almost joined a gang. He puts her down. Remember the guys I told you about from the Halloween party? You mean the ones who threatened to shoot you? Yeah, I went to see their leader. You what? I was thinking about, joining their crew. She just gapes at him. They both sit back on the bed, and he tells her about visiting Quan in juvie and the sequence of events that led to him at Martell's doorstep. At some point, he starts crying, which he'd normally be embarrassed about, but he's not, because it's the best he's felt since before he can remember. Granted, part of feeling so good probably has to do with being wrapped in SJ's arm with his head on her shoulder. Just has no idea when that happened, but here they are. He can imagine Manny calling him punk for letting her hold him while he cries like a big-ass baby, but instead of making him sad, the thought makes him smile. He can almost imagine Manny saying, "Took you long enough, fool." After a few minutes of silence, SJ lets him go, and he sits up. Thanks for that. He smiles at her. She doesn't smile back. You okay? Justice, do you like me? Huh? SJ clasps her hands in her lap. Like, I know you're going through a lot right now, but, he says. She looks at him. I can't keep doing this to myself, Jess. What are you talking about, S? She sighs. Okay, this is the thing. I've had a crush on you since 10th grade. For real? Yes. At first, that's all it was. Didn't expect anything to come of it. Then last semester, we started talking more and spending more time together, and it, evolved. Jess doesn't know what to say. Problem is, I don't really know how to read you. Sometimes it seems like you're into me, but other times you're kind of withdrawn. Sometimes you look at me in a way that makes me want to put the world on a platter and hand it to you, but other times you won't look at me at all. Damn, S. As much as I enjoy your friendship and company, I can't keep giving myself over to this hope will become something more. I need to know where you stand. So tell me the truth. She looks him right in the eye. Do you like me, Jess? He gulps. Um, I, oh my God, you totally don't. Huh? I didn't say. You hesitated. Jess peers down at his brown hands and sees Manny's watch. You know what? It's fine, she says. We can still be friends. S, I like you. She glares at him. Don't just say it to shut me up, Justice. I'm not. I do like you, I swear. More than I've ever liked any girl. Why do I feel like there's a but? He sighs. Mello, right? She says. What? No. Mello and I are done. As in never gonna happen again. So what is it? Is it me? No, it's... He looks around the room. Anywhere but at her. It's complicated. She drops her tin. Just forget it. Wait, no. It's now or never, dog, Manny says in his head. Just turns to face her fully. S, I'm sorry for confusing you. You're right. I never said how I feel because I was scared to. She fiddles with her hands and doesn't respond. Just takes a deep breath. This is the thing, he says. My mom, well, she's not real keen on me, dating girls who aren't African American. SJ draws back, and then her head cocks to one side. Really? Yep. It's been since I was little, but she's gotten more adamant about it since. He cuts off. Since the shooting, SJ says. Yeah, she sighs. But I don't care anymore, Just says. Huh? About what she thinks. I don't care. SJ lifts an eyebrow and crosses her arms. And I'm the Easter Bunny. Just laughs. Okay, I care, but... Just takes in her face. Sees what he'd be passing up. I can't let it stop me, he says. Life is too short. She bites her lip. It drives Just absolutely crazy. Let me make it clear right now, he says. I like you, Sarah Jane. No matter my mom's opinion, you mean a lot to me. And if you'll have me, I'd love to take you out sometime. Her eyes narrow. Like on a date. I know, numbnuts. She rolls her eyes and smiles. You've never called me Sarah Jane before. He grins. She blushes. Can't lie. It's real fun making your cheeks all red, he says. Shut up, she punches him. It makes him laugh and want to kiss her. So, what's up? We doing this? She covers her face. Will you stop making me blush? Nope. Ugh, she huffs and drops her hands. You're all in. I'm all in, girl. Her eyes narrow for a second and then, okay, she smiles again. Just shakes his head. Had to make me sweat for it, huh? Just returning the favor. Touché. A beat passes and then, can I tell you something? She says. You mean there's more? Shut up, this is serious. Okay, and now he's nervous. She takes a really deep breath and shifts her gaze across the room. Seeing you with all those tubes in your body was probably the lowest moment of my life, Jess. To think I spent all that time being stupid, then almost lost you? She shakes her head. I felt the same way when I saw you at the funeral. Silence. Then, Justice? Yes, Sarah Jane? Can we agree not to be that stupid again? He smiles and drapes an arm around her shoulders. Sounds like a plan to me. Transcript from Nightly News, May 21st. Anchor. Good evening and welcome to the Channel 2 Nightly News. In our top story tonight, investigators say a fire at the home of former Atlanta police officer Garrett Tyson was deliberately set. Investigator. Arson was our initial suspicion due to the number of threatening phone calls and letters Mrs. Tyson has received during her husband's detainment. We're now able to confirm that this fire was started from the outside. Cuts to picture of house's charred remains. Anchor. Police have apprehended 3 teenage boys who were seen in the area on the night of the incident. Beverly Tyson, Garrett's wife, sustained multiple second-degree burns, leaving her in serious condition. Anchor continued. Tyson's trial in connection with the January shooting that left 1 teenager dead and another wounded is set to begin approximately 5 weeks from today. More on this story as it continues to develop. Chapter 21. For the most part, Jess isn't surprised when a pair of cops approach him and Mama after grass prep commencement ceremony. Since Blake's "just assaulted me" stunt fell flat, even the pundits were smart enough to ignore a kid photographed in a KKK robe. Jess figured it was only a matter of time before he got accused of something else. He was right. Not 12 hours after news broke that the fire at Garrett Tyson's house was set by someone outside it, the same news people who instigated Thuggate were speculating about Justice's involvement in the arson plot. Despite having nothing to do with it, for 4 days now he's been waiting for someone, cop, reporter, angry mob, to come after him. It just sucks that he's still in his cap and gown, surrounded by his classmates and their families when someone does. Justice McAllister, the female of the pair, says. She's black, slacks and a button-down, badge on her belt. Yes, I'm Detective Rosalind Douglas, and this is Officer Troy. She points to the white guy in uniform. You mind if I ask you a few questions? Mama steps forward and crosses her arms. I'm his mother and he's a minor. What can I do for you, officers? We mean your son no harm, ma'am, says Officer Troy. I have a few queer... I don't give my consent. Detective. Ma'am, your son is 17 years of age, and therefore an adult according to criminal law. My son isn't a criminal, so that law doesn't apply to him. The detective sighs and looks around before taking a step forward and lowering her voice. Ma'am, we know this is a big day for your son. We're trying not to make a scene here. If he's willing to cooperate and answer a few questions for us, we might be able to avoid this going any further than it has to. So let me guess, Mama says. You're a good cop, and Whitey over there is bad? Ma, stop, Jess says. Let's just hear them out so we can leave. Do you officers have any idea of the kind of hell my boy's been through at the hands of people like you? He's been falsely accused and unlawfully held under arrest. He's lost his best friend. He's been shot. Detective, we're well aware of your son's background, Mrs. McAllister. Our goal is to make this as painless as possible. Jess, what's this about? Mama, I did not say you could talk to these people, Justice. Jess, Ma, if they want to treat me like an adult, I'm going to act like one. She doesn't say anything. Jess steps around her and looks each cop in the eye. You were saying, officers? The detective nods as the white cop pulls out a notepad. We appreciate your cooperation, Mr. McAllister. Justice almost laughs. Detective, on the night of May 20th, there was a fire at the home of Garrett and Beverly Tyson. The blaze was started at around 11:45 p.m. You know anything about that? Jess shrugs. Only what I've seen on the news. The detective's eyes narrow, and Justice wonders if he's being too nonchalant. He's telling the truth, of course, but they obviously don't know that. Detective Douglas examines Justice's face, which makes him feel like a cockroach under a magnifying glass. Will you excuse us for a moment? She says, gesturing to the officer. Sure. The moment they step away, Mama rounds on Jess. I don't appreciate you speaking to me that way in front of those police officers. You should have let me handle it. No offense, but I don't think this is something you could handle, Mama. Well, if you would have kept your mouth shut. You realize once they said I don't need your consent, refusing to talk would have made it look like I had something to hide, right? I turn 18 in 3 weeks and head to college in 10. You can't protect me forever. Mama's jaw drops, but before she has a chance to respond, the cops come back. Okay, Justice, the detective says. So he's Justice now, huh? This is the deal. We've arrested 3 young men caught on camera siphoning gasoline from cars in a Walmart parking lot near the Tyson home. 2 of them, Officer Troy passes her the notepad. Trey Philly and Bradley Mathers, she reads, named you as an accomplice. Just shakes his head. Of course it was Black Jihad. Just can't believe he considered joining up with those fools. I promise I had nothing to do with it, Detective. She nods. Well, we're hesitant to believe these guys. For one, they've both tried to implicate innocent parties before. For 2, the 3rd young man did not mention you, which, considering the circumstances, is a little odd. Okay? I'm going to ask you a series of yes or no questions. Just answer truthfully, and this should go pretty fast. Jess nods. Were you aware of an arson plot involving the home of Garrett Tyson? No. Have you had